All right, welcome to Applied Writing. My name is Professor Emelina, and I'm going to be your teacher this short winter term, this short semester. Obviously, I've been in touch last week, but this is the first video lesson, and this is how the class is really going to go. So I wanted to go over a couple of technical things before we jump into this week's lesson so that you can really understand the course and make sure that there's no confusion about how it's going to run. So the way that the class is going to run, like I said in my past emails, is typically I will upload a video lesson. There'll be a topic of the week, a video lesson that accompanies that, and in that video lesson you will be assigned usually 2 assignments. There will be a reading journal almost every week, unless there's a major writing assignment due, and alongside that reading journal, you'll also have something like a video response or some other shorter assignment that you will also have to complete by the end of the week. And so the video lesson with the assignments will be uploaded on Monday mornings on Blackboard, and that will be right here under Start Here. There's nothing here right now. You'll see just the PDF or the document from last week. But so you will be able to come here every Monday and find the video link to whatever lesson is for the week. And then you will have to complete the assignments by the end of the week. And when I say by the end of the week, that means midnight on Friday. So you have the full week to complete the assignments. And this week there is no reading journal because you do have a short reflection due. So let's get into, again, just a couple of technical things. So you'll always be able to find what to do for the week here under Start Here. The syllabus, hopefully you've already read that, is right here under the Syllabus and Policies tab. You'll also see under the Start Here tab that there is a calendar. And so I will try to keep that updated 2 weeks in advance. You'll see I'm still working on some of the things here for you all, but you'll be able to see where we're kind of headed in terms of topic and everything here. And so we'll start off with reflection, then get into some technical writing skills, how to research, rhetorical analysis, and then end with kind of basics about organization, drafting, revision, etc. And you will see that all of the major assignments, which are short writings, you're not writing anything that's very long. The longest that you'll write is about a couple pages in this class, but you'll see that the major projects, those due dates are set so that you know kind of where we're headed in terms of that as well. Under course content, you will see all of the readings you need. You will not have to purchase anything. All of the readings and or links, some of these, when I say readings, they're going to be videos or things like that, or audio recordings, but that will all be under course content readings. All of the prompts, the reading journal prompts, and other major assignments, all will be under course content there. And the assignments you'll see are under assignments/tests. Discussions, the same thing, and then you will see your grades under Grade Center here. And that's pretty much all you'll need to know for this class in terms of Blackboard. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. Hopefully you all have already been in a class where you've used Blackboard before here at Mass Maritime. I know this is online, so it's a little bit different, but it should be pretty simple. So that's how the class is going to go. And I'm really here to try to help you improve your writing skills so you can pass the class and continue forward either to graduation or continue forward in your time here at Mass Maritime. And that's really what I'm looking for you to do this week, is to reflect on those writing skills. You did that a little bit last week with the writing diagnostic, but reflecting on those writing skills and trying to figure out what you can really do to improve them alongside the lessons that I'll provide this semester. So, I'm going to take a short break, and then we'll jump back into the lesson for the All right, we are back. So, let me just open this up here. So like I said, the video lesson or the lesson for this week is going to be on reflection. And reflection is something that you do all the time. It's not like an uncommon thing. We are reflecting on our life and everything pretty much constantly, right? So this is something that you should be familiar with and you should have learned about in your composition class as well. So what is reflection and why do we do it? So it's defined as the act of consciously thinking about our life, our experiences, our actions, and our feelings, right? So consciously thinking about that means that you're not just, it doesn't just pass through your mind, but you're consciously thinking about what it is and the how, the what, and the why behind it, right? And so again, you're doing this constantly. Say when you applied to colleges, right? You had to reflect on what it is that you really want out of the college experience, what it is you really want out of your learning and education, and what that can do for your life in general, your career path. All of that is reflection, right? And so in writing, it's about processing your own understanding of your own writing and communication skills. And so it's pretty much taking what you do on a daily kind of basis and just putting that into writing. And so you're doing this through self-assessment, analysis, review and revision. And so this is in the drafting process of writing, finding insight within your writing and within your learning and education, setting goals for yourself. That's all part of reflection, because you're reflecting on what you need to do and how to do it, and articulating what you've actually learned. And so the actual written reflections that you will do in this class, right? And so it's not just about thinking about it in your own head and that kind of thing, but also articulating in words. And so it's practicing your own communication skills, essentially, about what you have reflected on. And so an example here.
50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
Okay, so I don't think I have to really introduce what that speech is. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech in Washington there. So when you're listening to something like that, that's obviously a form of oral communication. And it's also these kind of speeches, particularly when they're this personal, right, tend to be very reflective as well. And so Martin Luther King Jr., you can really tell from the way that he speaks, not just the words that he's speaking, that he's really thinking about what he is saying and trying to communicate specific things to his audience, right? And so he is reflecting in that way as he's giving this speech. And there's particular language things that he does, even just like I have a dream, right? The repetition of I have a dream. That's really reflective, because what is that dream? How do we reach that dream? And so he's really reflecting on his own state, obviously as a Black man in the 20th century in the United States, and trying to get that message out to his audience, right? And so that's something that you'll be doing in this class as well, trying to communicate whatever it is you want to communicate. Obviously, this example of MLK Jr. is a really big one. He's obviously a really big figure in history, in the history of this country. But he's using the same techniques that you're going to be using in this class. Self-assessment, finding goals, finding insight, setting goals, articulating what he has learned and how he thinks that we can improve things, right? And so this is an example here of really strong communication and something that you can use to better your own communication skills as well. And so you're going to have 2 video responses for this week. And the first one is going to be for this Martin Luther King Jr. speech. And what I want you to do in just a paragraph or 2 is respond to this question. How is MLK, and this is after you should watch the whole thing, or at least most of it, so you really get a sense of this speech, though I'm sure many of you have watched it, listened to it, and read it in past classes as well. So the question is this: how is Martin Luther King Jr. reflecting, and how does he incorporate that into his speech? So in a paragraph or 2, how is Martin Luther King Jr. reflecting, and how does he incorporate that into his speech? Okay, we are back. Forgive me, I'm still working on the transitions a little bit with this video lessons. I've done it before, but yeah, I'm just kind of getting back into the video editing. So forgive me if these transitions are a little hard. So when you're thinking about reflection, and a lot of you are probably thinking about this in general in terms of your humanities or English classes in particular, why should I actually care about this? And so English in general or composition in general, this particular class, applied writing, it's really about honing your communication skills. That's what writing is. It's communicating what you want to say to other people and making sure that they understand what you're trying to say, right? Because maybe you understand what you're saying, but if you're not communicating properly, that can actually be a problem in the workforce or in your place of work, in your class, in your relationships outside of school, right, with your family, friends, etc. And so this kind of communication skill is actually very important just to life in general. And reflection is a big part of that. And so reflection, like writing, like communication, is a transferable skill. And so what a transferable skill means is that you are repurposing skills you learn in one context to other areas of your life. So for example, if you are taking a math class and you have to solve a problem, you might take those problem-solving skills that you learned in this particular math class and then use it when you go and you work at Dunkin' Donuts over the summer and you are trying to make so many drinks at once. You have to use those same problem-solving skills to make sure that you get all the drinks done in the amount of time where no customer is going to be yelling at you, etc., right? There's a number of things that you can transfer this kind of skill to. And so when you're thinking about reflection in general, not just writing and not just composition or communication, but reflection specifically, these are some of the things that you can take that skill and transfer it to other areas of your life. So number 1, like I have said, stronger communication. If you're reflecting on, okay, am I actually communicating well to the people around me? Just in general, this doesn't have to be in a professional setting, but just talking to your friends and family. And like I already said, with problem solving and critical thinking, right? Again, as you are reflecting and as you're reflecting about your writing or any other kind of skills that you have, you are using critical thinking as a skill during that. You also are using multitasking and organization, right? So when you're reflecting, you are organizing your thoughts. You are thinking about a lot of things at once, and you're thinking about how you can actually get to the goal that you want to get to, etc. Again, communicate what you need to communicate in a clear way. So all of those things are really helpful in writing, but also other parts of your life. Again, any other job, having organization skills is going to be really important in getting tasks done, right? And so this could be if you're working on on a big ship, right? This could be, again, if you're working at Dunkin' Donuts. This could be if you're a teacher, right? Organization is very important to me. And so I'm constantly reflecting on how I can organize the class the best way. And I'm constantly having to multitask in order to keep everything together, right? Another thing would be attention to detail, right? So as you are reflecting on your writing process, which you will be doing in this class, or again, any other kind of thing in your life, you have to be thinking about the specific details. And that's something that's very important in writing as well in general, is the details. Because if you're missing those contextual details, then it's going to be hard for your audience to understand really what you're trying to get at. And so those details can be very important. And a way that you would transfer that would be, again, listen, I'm going to be giving some examples of boats and stuff, but I don't really have the specific context. So say you're working on a ship, you're working on some part of, some mechanical part of it, right? You have to have that attention to detail to make sure that you are connecting the right wires, et cetera, right? Because if you're not paying attention to that detail and you make an error, it can be a huge problem, right? And so you want to make sure that you are paying as much attention to things in your writing class as you are in your other classes and your life in general. And then another thing I talked about before was goal setting, right? So that's a big part of reflection, is setting specific goals that you want to reach and reflecting on how you can actually reach them and what you can do and why it's important. And then along with that is adaptability. So if you have all of these other skills, then you should be able to adapt to any kind of situation. Again, say you're on the ship and something goes wrong and you need to kind of work in an emergency state. Having that adaptability, having that reflection of being able to say, okay, these are things that I've learned in the past. These are goals I've set in the past. This is critical thinking skills, problem solving skills I've learned in the past. Then you can take all of those things and use it to your advantage in whatever situation that you are in. And so it can really depend on what you're doing, but it's really a transferable skill to really anything in the rest of your life. So now I'm going to pull up another example here. Okay.
About 6 months ago, Anita Bryant, in her speaking to God, said that the drought in California was because of the gay people. On November the 9th, the day after I got elected, it started to rain. On the day I got sworn in, we walked to City Hall and it was kind of nice. And as soon as I said the word, I do, it started to rain again. It's been raining since then. And the people of San Francisco figure the only way to stop it is to do a recall petition. So much for that. Why are we here?
All right. So that is, excuse me, that is a speech that probably, unlike Martin Luther King Jr., you're not very familiar with. It's called the Hope Speech. It was originally presented by a politician named Harvey Milk, who was the first elected gay official, I think, in the whole country, but at least in California. And this was in 1977 when he did this speech. And so, like Martin Luther King Jr., this speech is very personal and it's very reflective about his existence as a gay man and also what he can do in the public sphere to help other people, right? And so it's very similar in a way to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. And it's also very hopeful and positive in the same way the I Have a Dream speech is, right? The little clip that I just showed is not Harvey Milk's voice, as we don't have an actual recording of it. But I wanted to let you hear just a minute there. This is performed by Sir Ian McKellen, who's a pretty big actor. Many of you may be familiar with him in his work as Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. But anyway, I digress. So what I want you to do is that speech transcript, as well as the video. You can just listen to the video if you want, but the transcript is also up on Blackboard. And like with Martin Luther King, I want you to read through, at least scanning, but they're not very long. You should be able to read through or listen to the speech and then give a second video response. So the video response you have to do, again, a paragraph or two for the milk speech, is why is reflection important in milk speech? So again, in a paragraph or two, why is reflection important in milk speech? Again, this is basically how the lessons are going to go for the rest of the semester. You will actually see my face next week. Just for this week, I'm doing a video with the PowerPoint, so that's how it's going this week. So you have those 2 video responses, just short things that are due by the end of the week. And before I let you go, I am going to go over briefly the reflection assignment that you have due by the end of the week. So I'm just going to take a quick break and then I will go. All right, last thing before we end the lesson for today. Like I said, you have a short general reflection that's due on Friday. This is one of your major writing assignments, but none of these major writing assignments will be more than, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 pages. So for this one, it will be just a short 1 to 2 pages where you will reflect on your writing and why you think you ended up here in applied writing. So as you are reflecting, this video lesson should help you really understand what reflection is and what I'm looking for. I'm also going to upload a piece of writing called On Reflection, and you can read that as well on your own time if you want a little bit of extra understanding of reflection, but this video lesson should be really enough. It's a pretty simple concept, but you really have to think as you're doing it. So think about these particular things as you reflect. You don't necessarily have to answer each question, but just things to think about. What is my own assessment of my writing? What skills could I improve on? You also want to be thinking about what skills you think you're very good at and you're strong at and you feel confident in. Why is writing an important skill to have? Why did I fail the WPE? What could I have done differently to pass? And what will I do in this class to improve my communication skills? So just some things to think about as you reflect on your writing, again, and why you ended up in this particular class. And then looking at the parameters here, the length, like I said, 1 to 2 pages, and that's MLA format. So that's 12-point font, double space with a traditional header and title. This isn't a very long assignment, so please don't add extra spaces on all that kind of thing. And you can submit this as a document. That will be easiest for me to grade it rather than a PDF. So it's 1 to 2 pages, and that is due this Friday, January 20th, by the end of the day via Blackboard. So it's a pretty simple assignment, but if you have any questions, please let me know. And now that is all I have for you for this week. And I hope you have a good week. And next week, you will see my shining face on the screen, and we will get into the next lesson. All right, so have a good weekend, and I will see you next week.